Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television, chaos, turmoil in several parts of the southwest region of Cameroon. Today, we take you to the southwest regional headquarters of Boya, which was in chaos. Today, academic activities disrupted after several parents were reportedly threatened to come pick up their children in school. We present to you the atmosphere that reigned in the southwest regional headquarters of Boya in this edition of the news. Also ahead, we talk about the ghastly road accident which occurred last weekend in Chang of the west region of Cameroon. Officials at the Ministry of Transport in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, have reacted. They said that the transport vehicle, or the vehicle rather, was illegal, was involved in illegal activities, and that Cameroonians in general should be able to carry out their own responsibilities to ensure that accidents are limited on highways across the national territory. In this edition of the news, we get the reaction of officials at the Transport Ministry in the nation's capital. Those are headlines. Stay with us for the details. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Let's begin right away in the southwest regional headquarters of Boya, where there was chaos today. It was a similar situation in EQUINOXE, in Mutengene, Limbe and Kumba of the southwest region of Cameroon. Classes were since the early hours of this morning disrupted in several parts of that part of the Anglophone region. There was chaos in public and private schools in Mutengene as well as in Boya after some unknown men invaded campus, threatening children to return home. It should be noted that parents who were alerted rushed to school where their kids are attending classes to pick them up, as Derek Jato tells us in the following report.
10 a.m. Monday, January 15, 2018, students are forcing their way out of a campus, and the main gate is pushed down in the process. Parents got the information that their children are not safe at school. Offices and business centers are abandoned. Every parent is heading to the school of his or her child to bring the child back home.
It's a role model that we should go and tell our children from school. We don't know what is going on. So we have...
The news hit from the nursery to the university level, and everyone is out on the street of Boya. It is not only happening in Boya, but in some other subdivisions like Moyuka and Tiko. Though running in panic, but no one who are certain what has really triggered the trending.
Immediately people they just start hearing from one of the stairs was just running out. So we had to run out and went to the gate. Our teacher came out the gate telling us to go back all the military forces. Then we tried to have to push out.
And some students in that confusion abandoned their uniforms. In Boya before midday, schools were empty. Bilingual Grammar School, Moliko Boya. Here, school administrators stood their grounds, telling the anxious parents waiting at the school gate to either go home or wait for the normal closing time, for nothing is going on and the students are safe on campus. Mr. Bernard Okalia Bilai, the Southwest Governor, responded immediately.
What occurred this morning is just a rumor, but we should remain vigilant. We should remain vigilant because we know that some people have very bad intentions. People want to continue to spread rumors to panic the population so that all our activities, not only the education activities, but also the business activities, should be disturbed.
Defining the situation in an official communique as an act of intoxication aimed at manipulating the public opinion and creating an atmosphere of insecurity around educational establishment, and call on parents to stay calm and send their children to school.
I want to reassure the entire population, and particularly community of education, that they should continue their activities, and security measures have been put in place and reinforced by the head of state himself to protect the entire population and all the activities.
At press time, the confession on everyone's lips in Fako division in particular and the Southwest region in general was that they heard that some people came to disrupt classes, though no one saw them, but the rumor created panicking waves that spread swiftly across the Southwest region.
As we heard in the report that just ended there with Derek Jato, a relative calm has returned to Boya and other parts of the Southwest region of Cameroon following the chaos that marked or reigned in some institutions and across the streets of Boya in the early hours of this morning. We heard the governor of the Southwest region in a communique that has dispelled reports that the schools in the region were attacked by what he called ill-intentioned individuals. He equally said that it was a way of manipulating public opinion and creating an atmosphere of insecurity around educational establishment. Governor Bernardo Kaliabilai urged parents, students and business community to go about their activities normally and assured them that security forces are on the ground to ensure their safety. A similar communique was equally released by the senior divisional officer for Meme, still in the Southwest region of Cameroon, dispelling rumors as well that schools were attacked in that part of the country. And it should be noted that Monday is a traditional ghost town day instituted in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon since the Anglophone crisis escalated. It should be noted that the ghost town day was instituted since January 2017 in Kumba, Bamenda and several parts of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Today, businesses and markets were practically closed. Only a few taxis and motorbikes could be seen circulating around the cities of Kumba, Bamenda, Boya, Mutengene, Ekuna and Indimbe. We shall be keeping you updated as soon as we are informed. We now talk about the ghastly road accident that has left many, especially inhabitants in Chang and also in Sancho of the western region of Cameroon in shock. It is after the death of 21 persons. The incident equally left scores of persons seriously injured and they are currently receiving treatment in hospital. The clandestine 70-seater bus that was involved in the said road accident overturned into a valley after it suffered a brake failure, as innocent as it tells us in the following report.
Indeed, a heart-piercing incident. Relatives of 21 people whose lives perished in the car accident Saturday night between Chang and Sancho, West region of Cameroon, go inconsolable in front of the Chang District Hospital, where corpses of their loved ones were laid in the morgue. 38 others sustained severe injuries and 5 came out hit-free. It involved a clandestine interurban 70-seater bus not immatriculated that collected passengers and was heading to Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. Unfortunately, its journey ended into a valley at the Sancho Cliff when the bus accelerated on a suspicious breakneck speed and overturned into the valley. A survivor of the accident at the Chang District Hospital says the brakes of the 70-seater bus certainly failed. West Governor Awafonka Augustine descended to the scene to evaluate the degree of the incident. This driver and mechanic tried to explain what happened to this brand of bus. He says, first and foremost, the bus has an automatic driving mode which does not permit it to descend a slope for a long while. When it descends a slope, at times, it accelerates the speed instead of reducing its level. This technical fault now compels the driver to use force to slow down the vehicle. In the course of doing so, the brakes got tired and failed. Rescue soldiers and gendarmes who arrived at the scene succeeded to save helpless victims. In the space of 2 months, this national number 17 highway has claimed at least 26 lives.
And authorities at the Ministry of Transport in Yaoundé have blamed the road accident that occurred last weekend in Chang, West region of Cameroon, on recklessness and irresponsibility on the part of the driver. The Director of Road Transport, Mr. Mbamumne Kondong Divine, has revealed that the owner of the 70-seater bus had no legal documents authorizing him to circulate on Cameroonian highway. He said that measures put in place by the Ministry of Transport are currently being violated. Despite series of sensitizations and road safety campaigns, he called on Cameroonians to assist government's efforts in the fight against road accidents across the national territory. That was the declaration of the Director of Road Transport at the Ministry of Transport in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
It's for the loss of life of close to 23 Cameroonians following a motor accident on the 13th of January at in Chang and Douala Highway. This accident was caused by the irresponsibility of a fellow citizen who decided to purchase a 7-seater bus and practice interurban transportation without any authorization. Because you have to understand that the laws of the country are clear. Before a vehicle is used for commercial purposes, you're supposed to have what we call the carte bleue. You have the different authorization, the transport chart, what we call the license. And worst case scenario, the state laws are clear. No unidentified vehicle is supposed to be found circulating on our streets. But this vehicle in question was not even immatriculated. It had no registration certificate. Now, to even get a vehicle, a roadworthiness certificate, you are supposed to have a registration certificate. We can understand that this vehicle, in total clandestinity, had no authorized document to transport people from one place to the other. And we can understand, as it is said in the report, that the braking system failed, and the driver could not manage the vehicle, and he found himself on below the mountains there, and resulting to the death of 23 Cameroonians. We think, the Ministry of Transport thinks, that it is the responsibility of every Cameroonian to assist the state in the fight against road accidents. The state has put laws that are clear, regulations that are clear on how to carry on every transport activity, interurban transport activity in particular. For the past 2 months, we have been sensitizing. We have even deployed 42 judicial police officers, special competence, to sensitize different road users. The other administrations, like the National Gendarmerie, have been on the field to sensitize road.
We now take a look at the deplorable learning conditions of some students and pupils in Mora. Mora is a locality or a town in the far north region of Cameroon. Some students or some schools are lacking benches, in need of equipment, and pupils as well as students have been sitting on bare floor to receive their lessons. Catherine Kone in the following report is going to be telling us that soldiers of the Multinational Joint Task Force distributed some 300 benches to some institutions that are lacking in the said infrastructures, but she's going to be questioning whether they are actually enough to meet the dire need of benches in that part of Cameroon. Her report. Some schools in Mora, far north region of Cameroon, have been in sham since their creation. The atrocities of Boko Haram have crumbled the educational system in the region. Learning and teaching conditions of these schools do not resemble an educational establishment of the 21st century. Prior to the construction of the school built with mud, the classrooms lacked benches with people sitting on an empty floor to receive lessons. The pupils are equally exposed to heat and cold, which limit their access to schooling. According to the teachers, some have dropped out from school due to the deplorable condition of their learning environment. The pupils and teachers only have few boards, chalks and books at their disposal due to the lack of facilities and equipment. Pupils and student learning conditions are suboptimal.
Ce n'est pas vraiment facile pour nous
To the teachers, teaching under this precarious condition has not been an easy task to them. After several years of enduring these poor working conditions, the first military sector of multinational joint task force against Boko Haram offered 300 benches to 3 different schools in Mora that have been without benches. Their kind gesture to the institutions comes as a relief to the pupils and teachers. The pupils and teachers promise to use the equipment genuinely so others could use in the coming years. And in news out of Cameroon, Liberia's ruling party has dropped Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, outgoing Liberian president, for not backing a Vice President Joseph Boakai in a presidential runoff that favored the former football player George Weah. 3 other party officials have simply been dropped, as innocent as it tells us in this report.
Liberia's outgoing president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, was ejected from the ruling Unity Party by the organizing committee that accused her of turning her back on the party's presidential candidate, Joseph Boakai, in last month's election. The Unity Party's organizing committee says Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf supported and campaigned for former football star George Weah, who eventually became the officials to the party violated its rules, including a requirement to support all Unity Party candidates in elections. George Weah defeated Vice President Joseph Boakai, who was candidate of the ruling party, in a runoff that held in a fortnight ago. His inauguration as President of Liberia is due to take place this month. Sirleaf, 79, will officially hand over power to Weah on January 22nd after serving 2 6-year terms.
And in sports football, the 5th edition of the African Nations Championship, the CHAN, is in day 3 with Group C teams in action. Cameroon's Intermediate Lions would be involved in their first game that's going to be tomorrow against Congo. And Smart Njikan Gabriel is going to be giving us updates from Morocco in the following report ahead of the encounter between the Intermediate Lions of Cameroon and Congo.
Tuesday, Cameroon's intermediate team will confront Congo-Brazzaville in their first outing at the African Nations Championship that started over the weekend. It was a charged Monday for coach Rigobert Song Bahanak, who was part of a technical meeting and later presided at a pre-match press conference before having their last training session later in the evening. Before the Lions match, the host nation, Morocco, who are tipped as the tournament favorite, had a walkover on Mauritania in the inaugural match, hitting them 4-0. In the other Group A match, Sudan beat Guinea-Conakry 2-1. The first surprise of the tournament came from Group B, where Namibia recorded a historic victory over Ivory Coast as they stunned the Junior Elephants 1-0. The lone goal for Namibia came towards the end of the match. Meanwhile, Zambia was also too strong for Uganda in the second game of Group B, defeating the Cranes of Uganda 3-1. Group A is dominated by Morocco and Uganda, who all count 3 points, but Morocco has a better goal average of +4 goals, while Zambia and Namibia are leading in Group B. Before Group C teams get into hostilities, a total of 12 goals were scored in the first 4 matches of the tournament.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Points. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is a political analyst, Mr. Ndimancho Michael. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point. Good evening.
Thanks so much, Mimi. It's a pleasure to be here.
As the electoral year is at hand, 2018, opposition parties and even the ruling party are now mapping plans to be able to have their own place in the political scene. But before we talk about that, as far as opposition coalition in Cameroon is concerned and the stakes, Mr. Nzimancho Michael, we saw images of the chaotic atmosphere that reigned in Boya. Today, students, pupils were running from one end of the town to another because of allegations, reports that schools were under attack. What do you have to say about the atmosphere and the images that we just saw?
It is a pity, Mirel, knowing that as an educationist, I know that a school is supposed to be a temple. I mean, you know, in a temple, one of the things that those who get in the temple have at the back of their minds is, I mean, that secureness, that sacredness. You know, they feel a sense of belonging, whereby people feel that there is somebody somewhere who is protecting. And when schools actually when this temple is being defied, and then we begin to ask questions, then you know the extent of what fear has gone to in this region of our country. Now people now see that they don't feel any sense of protection anyway. So when they don't feel any sense of protection anyway, I ask myself how these children are going to learn history. You know, just a slightest news about rumors about attackers and whatsoever, children are going haters-skaters. Now this brings us to drives us back to the drawing board to say that even with the military presence in the Anglophone zone, people are still really afraid. Because we feel that with the military presence, at least children will feel that they are secured and that there is security everywhere. But with just a little rumors, you find children running hater-skater, then you begin to see that there is a lot that needs to be done. And
not just military presence in the regions, but they were supposed to equally safeguard students and pupils in school. And when we see such happenings or such things happening, we start questioning ourselves, how secured are schools in these regions? We remember when the school was just about to begin in September 2017, government authorities were reassuring parents and students of their safety. But when we see the contrary, the students are not feeling safe until what happened today. So we begin to ask ourselves a lot of questions.
And that is just the questioning. That is what we are trying to question, because even up to today, we are being assured by the government that students shouldn't be afraid. They should go to school, and that nothing will happen to them. And these children actually went to school with confidence, knowing that they are being guarded. And if today, with these rumors, and what we have seen in Buea today, what we have seen in the Southwest region today, it shows that actually these children know that in the back of their minds, they have to take care of their own security. Because when all these things were happening, I feel that, there was no adequate security to calm down the students and the pupils. Because when you saw the parents rushing into the schools, picking up their children and running away, and I was asking myself a question: what of those people, if actually something was happening, what of those people or students who don't have parents who can rush in immediately and take them away? Then we have a lot actually to take care of as far as this crisis is concerned. Now you understand why we are talking about fear now being an issue of the mind. It is now in the conscience of the people that they feel that they have to safeguard themselves. At the slightest noise anyway, people feel that they have to adjust. So we're now talking about the issue of the ideological war, which is being fought in the Northwest and Southwest region, because we now understand that it is an issue. Ideological means an issue, belief in the culture, belief in the political and religious views that the people have put together, and they think that this is what it's supposed to be. So if what has happened today shows that it is a war that we have to fight. And if we want this country to be one and united, then we have to go back to the drawing board. Nothing is being done in the Southwest and Northwest from what we have seen today.
From what you're saying, or from your declarations, there's a lot to do.
Exactly. There's a lot.
We see the government is talking about dialogue. Many people have called for dialogue, but things seem to be moving from bad to worst. we heard reports in Kumba of gunshots for several hours and several parts of the Meme division throughout the weekend. We equally see several localities in Manyu being deserted, and what happened in Boya today and several parts of the Southwest region, because other localities like Limbe, Mutengene were equally affected. It's quite preoccupying that the situation is moving from bad to worse.
It is preoccupying because you realize that at the moment when the people do not feel confident about their living status, there is something wrong. I realize that fear has been frozen. People's confidence has been frozen, and fear is the order of the day. People live in fear. It means that what? Some people live with their door locked, and I mean, they fear that even the security that the states offer them is not enough for them to live in this part of the region. And then the far cry that we are asking now is for the state to review how they can be able to let these people, to instill hope in these people, to instill the confidence that these people should feel that they are secured, and that the military that are around them are friends and they are not enemies.
What can really be done, Mr. Nzimancho?
I think that what can be done is we have been calling for dialogue. And what is the dialogue? Dialogue doesn't mean arresting people. Dialogue doesn't mean terrorizing people. Dialogue doesn't mean putting the people in the state of fear. Dialogue means that what? That you should reinstill confidence in the people, and of course bring the people who are asking for whatsoever. We have talked about this thing time and time again, and to ask them, what do you really want? You know, the people develop an approach which I call in psychology the door on the face, in the face approach, which of course they were asking for something bigger, which of course the government was supposed to call them and say, this thing you are asking us, we cannot give you at the moment. This is what we have for you. And the moment the government started actually brutalizing these demands and making them know that it is not their legitimate right to ask for this thing, it started causing the people, and then it rather radicalized the people. And therefore we are asking for dialogue. People are talking about dialogue. Dialogue means sincerity. Dialogue means that one of the partners must die. That is what we say. And death is not physical death. It means that what it should be the issue of give and take. One of the partners dying means that one of the partners should be able to recognize that there is one thing that he has to give out to another partner, and it should be an issue of reciprocity. That's what I think.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nzimancho Michael. Possibly we'll get to talk about the electoral year in our subsequent editions. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay, it was a pleasure.
To our televiewers, it was equally a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the news. Wishing you the best in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.